Hi, and welcome to Spokal's Social Media Automation version 2 video. So this is just a rough draft. I'm going to quickly run you through how social media works, how social media sharing works within Spokal, and why it's different from almost every other tool out there. So this is a quick draft because we're still working on this and we're still adding a few more features. I'm going to tell you more about that at the end of the video. But I want to get this out there. I wanted to show you guys because we're excited about this. We think you will be too, because we think this is going to save you even more time and drive more traffic and drive more leads to your site. So, and the reason we say that is because, social media sharing can be kind of one of those tedious things that that you just need to do, right? You just need to make sure that your content's always getting out there. And when we look at it, and when we looked at what we were doing, our process was repeatable. It was kind of the same process over and over and over again. And really the only thing that was different that required a human in there was the curation part of that, and determining what other content that's out there should also be shared to our followers. So when we looked at that, we decided that most of that can actually just be automated and make our lives, and now your lives, much simpler. So right now, generally for most people, if you are managing your social media account, generally it involves creating a whole bunch of social media shares, scheduling them out a week or 2 weeks in advance, based on your own blog posts and the stuff that you're trying to promote, as well as curated content from other sites. So given that that's what most people are trying to do, and that it's just kind of tedious. Generally, you have to, go into Hootsuite or go into Buffer and post a link in and change it and modify it and create a bunch of them. And there's a better way to do it. What we've introduced here is we call it recurring scheduling. And effectively what that means is you can now set up, you can tell us, hey, look, at 3 o'clock on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, for example, we want something to go out on our Twitter account. And at 5 o'clock, we want this to go out to our other Twitter account, and at 3 o'clock on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we want to go out to our Facebook account. So the way you set that up is by going to social. Through our menu here has changed, so now it says social instead of calendar, and go to schedule settings, and then here you can set up time slots for each of your social media accounts. So I've got 2 Twitter accounts connected and 2 Facebook pages connected. So looking at the first, I've already set up some time slots here. I have 4 time slots. 2 of them are recurring. So what that means is I can come into the calendar here. And if you're an existing Spokal customer, you'll notice a big difference here. When you first load up the calendar, we don't show all your social media shares anymore like we used to. We just show your blog posts. And right now you can see I've only got 4 that have already been published and nothing scheduled. But if you click on any one of your social media accounts up here, we'll fill it up with the shares that are going to go out to that account. You can click on all of them if you want so you can see everything, but it gets a bit messy. So we usually look at one at a time. And you'll see here, there's a bunch of social media shares going out. Some are light blue and some are dark blue. And same thing for Facebook, except that they're light. In fact, these are all recurring schedules, but if I change this one, you'll see that'll become dark. So light blue or light pink or light purple in the case of LinkedIn indicates a recurring item. And dark blue or dark pink or dark purple indicates an item that you've actually personally dragged and dropped or scheduled or modified in some way. And the distinction is important because any of the dark ones we will never touch. These things are going out, they're solid. Unless you delete them or change them, this is exactly what is going to get published. The light blue and the light pink, however, are recurring items, and we've scheduled them ourselves based on what you've told us you wanted to have published into these slots. So these are up for grabs, basically. What this means is if you come into Spokal and create a new blog post, for example. In fact, let's just do that now. New blog post, and we'll add an image because it always looks nicer with an image. Okay, just drag this guy over, and of course you can still modify anything you want here. And you'll notice these are all up here now too, so you can disable them per account. Or enable them per account. I'm just going to leave them for all. And here is new, and you can decide if you want the post to be enabled or disabled. And in this case, I definitely want it to be enabled. If you disable it, then it will not become a recurring post. You can publish it, and we'll still publish it immediately to your social media accounts, But when it comes to time to generate the recurring time slots and the recurring shares, we will not include this blog post in it. So I want this to be enabled, and then I'm going to publish it. Okay, so now you can see new blog post been published there, and the tweet that the immediate tweet that we published out right away. And then you can also see that we've scheduled it out a bunch of times here as recurring posts. So you can see at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, you've always got content going out on every day. And the reason is because here I've set up 2 recurring slots at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And if I change that, so I don't publish on Saturdays or Sundays, it'll take that. In fact, let's just do that. Let's remove Sundays so we don't publish anything on Sundays. I'll save that. We'll go back to the calendar. And you'll see we're still recalculating that one, so we'll just wait a minute. Okay, and it's back. So now, if I open this up, you'll see that on Sundays, we haven't scheduled anything. So we've removed the scheduled ones. Now, if I had, for example, dragged over a blog post, so this is all familiar to existing Spokal users, and had dragged that over, because it's dark blue, we would never touch it. But any of the light blue ones will remodify, reschedule, change whenever you post a new blog post, for example, or change the settings in here. That's recurring scheduling in a really quick nutshell. Now there's some settings here that make this even more powerful. So one is I can decide, for example, that okay, on this one is Friday, for example, at 5 o'clock, and I can decide that I only want a specific type of content to be shared at 5 o'clock on Fridays. And I can do that by choosing a focus. So if you're already a Spokal user, you're familiar with focuses. We use that for dynamic segmentation with leads. And focuses are really a key component to kind of Spokal tracking and what we do here. So now they're being used for social media sharing as well. And we're also going to use this for the dynamic segmentation with leads as well. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I can choose here, okay, I only want content that has a focus of, in this case, focus 2, to go out on Fridays at 5 p.m. So I can save that. In this case, I don't think I have any content. Yeah, I haven't created any content with that focus. So I'm going to get a warning here saying that I don't have enough content for the focus 2. So the likelihood of content actually going out on the Friday at 5 p.m. is pretty low because you get the warning here. So I'm just going to change that back to all content and save that, and everything's fine. So we'll go back to the calendar. It's regenerating it again. And now we can see there's a third item at 5 o'clock on Fridays. So that's basically recurring scheduling. If you want more fine-grained control, there's a few more settings here that you can play with. One is we automatically publish out to all your social accounts, or at least the ones that you've enabled, every time you publish a new blog post. It's a quick way to get your content indexed by Google, because Google keeps on track of, or keeps on top of all the social media platforms. So when you publish something on Twitter, Google becomes aware of it. It'll go and check out your site right away. And so it gets indexed right away. And it's just a good way to get your new content in front of people immediately. So in most cases, there's no good reason to turn this off, but it's there if you want to. There's a share ratio between the curated content and your own content. So most people recommend that you share more curated content, more content from other people than your own content on your feed. It's up to you what you decide to do here. 30 to 70% seems to be a pretty widespread accepted ratio, so we default to that. You can change that to be whatever you want here, but it will default to the majority of the content will be curated content whenever we generate the recurring scheduling. And here you can set the maximum number of times that you want to share. So this one's worth explaining a little bit. It's really simple once you get it. The implementation of it is maybe a little bit more complex, but it's the most number of times we will ever share any one thing. So any one blog post of yours or any one piece of curated content in any month, or basically, really it's a 28-day period. And the reason it's 28 days is because we schedule 2 weeks out. So we schedule 14 days out from now. So whenever we reschedule this, so if you change a setting in here, or whenever you create a new blog post, we regenerate all the social media shares out for 2 weeks from that date. And we also take into consideration everything that's been shared on your account for the 2 weeks before that date. So if you have, scheduled something a lot, this is kind of like a safety check to make sure that we don't schedule things too much, so you're not bombarding, accidentally, because automation can go a little weird sometimes. So we built in some safety checks to make sure that you can't really screw this up too badly. And one of them is this. So 5 is the default for Twitter. 1 is actually the default for Facebook and LinkedIn, but you can change them. And what that means is that we'll never publish any one thing more than 5 times in a month to any one social media account. In addition to that, we have another check in there that's not configurable, but we won't publish anything within 36 hours of the same thing. So, and the reason for that is actually, Twitter will actually reject duplicate tweets. So if you try to create a tweet and then try to tweet the exact same thing out within kind of 24 hours, Twitter will actually reject it. So Spokal already has that in there, so it'll never send out the same blog post or the same piece of curated content within 36 hours if it has already been published. If you're a current Spokal user, a couple things you'll notice. One is that these are disabled unless you have one of the social media icons enabled here, so that we know which account to drag and drop to. So you can still drag and drop like you've always been able to. Another big change is that you can modify things and add images in here, and it's all just a bit, everything's just more robust and nicer than it was before. If you enable the second account, you'll notice we've disabled this. You can only have one Twitter account enabled at a time for drag and drop. And curated content gets added by clicking the plus button on the right hand side here. Okay, and you can paste a link in here or just create it if you're not linking to anything, and it'll pull back all the details. I guess, yep, okay. And then you can cycle through any images it found or add another one if none of those are appropriate. And then here you can enable it as recurring or not. So generally do recommend to enable it. And then you can also set a focus for this piece of content. If, for example, using our example from previous, if you wanted to have a joke go out every Friday, you want to create some joke content in here, you can then associate it with the joke focus. And then save it to the social tab. That does a couple of things. One is it's here, so I can now drag and drop it wherever I like. But the second thing is whenever we regenerate the recurring items, it'll now be put into that algorithm and will be automatically scheduled out for you. If you want to modify any of these, obviously, if you want to modify any specific instance, you can just click on it in the calendar and modify that. But if you wanted to modify this recurring item so that every time we use it, it was different, click on the recurring item here on the left-hand side, and they're all right here. So if I wanted to change this one, I just click on it, and I can modify it. I can add hashtags. I can do anything I wanted here. And oops, let's keep that in Twitter limits. I can also assign it the focus. This link just links back to the original article so that you can check it out if you wanted to reference anybody in the tweets, for example. And update. And now anytime we schedule this out into the recurring items, it'll use this version. So that's it. That's pretty much it. We will now make sure that your content is automatically scheduled when you want us to, with the kind of content that you want us to schedule. You still have complete control if you don't set up any recurring slots. Everything still needs to be manually scheduled. You can still manually schedule anything you like. So this is, you can play with it and start with it nice and gently and see how it works for you, and then move it up so that you don't have to schedule every week, and it kind of becomes a background task. So then the nice thing about this is really instead of curation having to become a chore or something that you must do every week, it becomes it becomes more of an enjoyable task. It's when you're reading something and it's like, this is really good and we want to add it to it, you can then just add it to Spokal, and we'll add it to your queue, and it'll be something that gets shared out on a regular basis along with all the other awesome stuff that you found. Instead of having to go out and actually find stuff to share, you can share stuff that you're already finding because you're already interested in it, and it works really well. And if you get super busy for a week on something else, or if you go on a holiday for a week or two, it doesn't matter, we'll still keep cycling all your content through there. So there's just it's just much faster and much easier. Right, and so that's we think this is a huge step forward from most social media applications, and especially because it's integrated with your blog. So when you do create a new blog post, I'm not sure everybody's aware of this, but when you do create a new blog post, when you change these items here, so here's the tweets and here's the Facebook, LinkedIn items. In fact, let's throw Yeah, so I just put an image in there. So now that you've done, when you do this, not only do we create the social media shares for you, and now the recurring social media shares, which you can toggle on or off here. And this will take the focus of the blog post, by the way. So if you've set up a focus for the blog post, it'll automatically take that focus. So not only does it automatically schedule your social media shares and set that all up for you, but it also sets up your open graph tags and your Twitter card tags on your WordPress site as well. So, I mean, normally I think people go in and use something like Yoast to set all those up. You don't need to do that. It's all automatic. It's all done for you. So you really get to save a lot of time over a standard publishing procedure. And what's really exciting is kind of what we have planned next. So we got a lot of requests to make the calendar a full-fledged editorial calendar so you can plan out your blog posts. That's absolutely coming. It's not in there yet, but it's absolutely coming. We're going to add some easier ways to add curated content. So we've always had this Feedly tab, and we still have it, and you can still tag items in Feedly, and you can still drag and drop them into the calendar, but we're going to make that easier so it becomes part of the recurring process. And we have plans to add a browser extension as well, just to make the whole curation process simpler. And finally, and what we're really excited about is performance weighting. So we have all the data on this. So we can tell you, for example, which social media posts and which blog posts are generating the most click-throughs from Twitter or generating the most engagement on Facebook. And so one of the next enhancements that we have planned for this is to take that data and start assigning weights to it with the recurring system. So the blog posts and the curated content that is performing the best will get additional weight associated with it. And the ones that are performing the worst will get weight taken away from them. So we'll start to publish more often the high performing blog posts and publish less often the ones that are kind of bombing out. So over time, as Spokal learns what's working best, it's actually going to improve your social media marketing just through performance monitoring and algorithms, and you don't even need to do anything about it. And again, that's just going to be completely opt-in or opt-out. You can choose to have it or not. But that's one of the feature enhancements that we've got coming that we're super excited about. So I hope I've covered everything. If you have any questions, please do hit me up in support, and we'll be happy to answer any questions there. And please do also let me know if there's anything that you would like to see in here that's not in here. And also, if it's really working for you and this is, awesome, I would love to hear that. If it's not, I also want to hear that. So please do get back to me with feedback. And thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy it as much as we have enjoyed building it.